Lead Girl, the BWEL Podcast is your dedicated platform for amplifying the voices of Black women in various roles, whether you're a teacher, school leader, higher educational professional, or educational consultant.
Join us as we honor the stories of remarkable Black women and share insights from our distinctive journeys in education and life.
Tune in as we explore the topics that resonate with us as women, as members of the Black community, and champions in education. Welcome to Lead Girl, the BWEL Podcast, where we amplify the voices of Black women in education leadership.
We are your hosts, Trelane
and Jocelyn.
Happy Sunday, Jocelyn. We are back. And I'm in Boston, so I am freezing. Okay.
Well, I'm in Texas, so we're doing good down here.
I am officially jealous. That is a thing. I'm officially jealous. But I'm going to be down there soon, next month.
Yes. We can't wait to have you here.
Yes, for sure. Well, I'm also excited for our guest today, Dr. Natalie Halloran. So we are going to talk about something that we have not talked about at all on the podcast, which is incredibly important, hiring, recruitment, and retention of our educators. And, if you are a leader in this space, whether you have been, you've been hired at some point, someone's tried to retain you, and maybe you didn't get retained at that moment, all different kinds of practices that people are using to recruit educators into this amazing profession. Dr. Natalie Halloran has done that. So I want to share a little bit about who our guest is today. And, we're navigating teacher shortages and leadership transitions and all kinds of expectations for educators. And, the biggest piece is like, how do we hire great people? What do we need to be thinking about when we're looking for the educators that our children need? And once we get them, how do we keep them? How do we keep them thriving? How do we keep them interested, committed, and dedicated to the profession? So this is the challenge for many, many school leaders each and every day. So Natalie Halloran is a distinguished educational leader with more than 2 decades of experience across state, district, and school level leadership. Dr. Halloran has led human resources, school improvement initiatives, and systemic equity efforts, and she brings a powerful lens on how leadership decisions directly impact recruitment, culture, and retention. She is the founder, CEO, and lead consultant of Till Hall Enterprise, where she provides leadership development, aligned instruction, training, and executive coaching, grant management, and human resources consulting services. Her work centers on equity, innovation, and building systems that support educators and improve outcomes for students. Dr. Halloran was also the first keynote speaker at BWEL's inaugural conference in June 2025, inspiring women leaders with her insights on leadership and systems change. In this conversation, we'll explore actionable strategies for onboarding, mentorship, evaluations, and building cultures where educators want to stay and grow. Please welcome Dr. Natalie Halloran to Lead Girl.
Hello there. Hi.
So glad to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Trelane really did such a great job of, bringing you on. But, to get us started, we love to, for you to kind of ground our listeners in who you are and the work that currently has your heart and focus in this education space. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you're currently doing.
Great. Well, thank you again for that great introduction and for the opportunity. I've been everything from being a classroom teacher to reading specialist, school administrator, central office, and at the state level. And I've taken those over 30 years of experience. And I recently transitioned from public sector to private sector. And I'm out now supporting organizations, especially schools, with leadership development, coaching, training, and retention, because we want to retain and hold the people that we invest in as an organization.
For sure, for sure. And that's such important work, and I don't think we talk about it enough. And as a principal and a former principal of my own school, I took that job very seriously. That part of like, who am I bringing into our school for our children? So definitely would love to hear some of your insights. So you've served in all these leadership roles at state, division, and school level. So how have those different experiences shaped your leadership philosophy, especially as a Black woman in education leadership?
What's interesting is, it's a great question. Thank you for that. I looked at leadership differently at each level, but then now that I reflect on it, there was a lot of commonality amongst them. Because at the school level, I looked at being a leader of you're shaping teachers and other staff. Your ultimate goal is student achievement. You want parental organizational involvement. And as a leader of a building, you're setting the tone. You are the leader of the building. You provide the opportunities, resources, and support for all stakeholders. When I transitioned to being an executive leader at the central office, as they say, I was not only responsible just for my team, but the entire division, because my primary support was always in Title I schools, always managing federal funding, ensuring that, because at one point I managed 30 million in federal programs, ensuring that the resources were there to support the needs of not just the teachers, but for parent engagement in all those areas. And then when I went to the state, Virginia Department of Education, it was interesting because I looked at it at a different lens, because I thought everyone did it the way we did it in my division. But then I saw with a broad lens that support is support is support. Regardless if we're on the western side of the state, the northern side, or the southern or eastern side, support looks differently and must be differentiated for various school divisions so that funding is allocated to support the data identified needs. So really, as I look back on it, the needs have always kind of been there. And as far as leadership, I've always been one to provide support where needed and help extend resources to build the capacity and academic achievement of those that's needed, and have that collaboration with all the stakeholder groups, internally and externally. As the leader, you need to set that tone and be that voice to make that happen.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So in seeing the different, I guess, type of leadership or support that was probably different in different spaces, did you see any gaps in, I guess, the implementation of those different roles and in different spaces from a broader view?
From a broader view, I saw some gaps, but then not as many, because if I've always worked in the Title I federal funded type atmosphere, at the school level and the state level, funding was already identified to support those various schools and staff members that fell into those particular areas. But where I saw that I was able to lead and support was, you have the funding, so how are you using it? Because it was used, now that's the part that was different. The purpose was the same, but the intention was the same, but it wasn't utilized. And what I found was that people assume that leaders, when they're leading buildings, have all the resources and have all the answers. But they don't realize they need support. They need a coach. They need someone to sit and say, let me support you, assist you, look at your data, look at your funding, look at your resources. How are you supporting teachers? You know what I mean? So I looked at it as being a way to, as a leader, really take my knowledge and skill set and support differentially, if that makes sense, to different leaders, and not assuming that because they're leading the building or leading a department, they know the answers and know how to utilize funding, resources, and support to build capacity and grow and increase student achievement. So that's the part that was different, not the resources, but how it was utilized to support the need.
Equity.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I asked that question because, I've worked at the district level and more so in the technology space, and I saw how funding was spent, and just thinking, and even in my past role and just kind of working with school districts in general, like how funding looks different and what initiatives are more important. So that's why I was really curious of the differences. And so, but which kind of brings us to our next question, which is like around core leadership principles. And so, every leader develops a set of principles that kind of guides their decisions, especially like in the moments of complexity. So, what core leadership principles do you believe all educator leaders, whether new or seasoned, should cultivate to build like these thriving schools and organizations?
Definitely vision. I think a vision is being number one. Even before you step into that role and you're there before day one, do you have a clear purpose and direction? Are your actions as a leader over your department or building aligned with the vision of the division and where you need to, provide your focus and guidance? And integrity. I've seen oftentimes where integrity was lacking. I always say that you need to be authentic. This is who I am. I'm not going to do this to do this if that's not who I am and it's not supporting in the positive way that I want it to be on the front page of the news that I did this. Where does your integrity lie? And then accountability. Hold yourself accountable as well as your team accountable. And you be sure to provide the support and resources that your team need to be successful, and that you have the much needed awareness of a leader to know that you need to seek a coach or guidance if you need help with that accountability piece as well. Because so often as leaders, we think, we have the position. I should know the answer. I guess they hired me, but I don't know. So that's why often things get undone. So you need to hold yourself accountable as a leader and get the resources and support so you can better support your team. And then communication, that's a big piece. You have to increase communication and meet those who that you lead, as well as your colleagues and those that you need to seek support from and other stakeholders. Communication is the key. Positive, effective communication so we can get things done. So those are some of the core principles.
And when you talk about communication, I always think about, as how it is, obviously it's incredibly important to have good communication and to have multiple streams of communication, right? I've learned that over time. And as a leader, I have found that it's often tricky because I think that I'm communicating. And I think I'm communicating well. And I've said this thing, multiple times, and yet, there's still a gap somewhere. So I'm wondering what kinds of things you do to actually coach leaders around communication specifically, because it is so critical to the entirety of our work.
Glad you mentioned that, because as part of my executive coaching, when I'm working with individuals and teams, I'm DISC certified. So one of the things that I kind of require as part of the agreement is that you take the DISC assessment as the leader, and I would like to do it with the team as well. So when I do a lot of coaching with the leader as well as the team, the leader can at least see this team member is a D, this person's an I. Everyone communicates differently. So oftentimes as a leader early on, before I start studying and reading and learning and growing, I used to think the quiet person sitting over there, they just don't understand. Why are they not responding? But really that's their style or type. They need time. Some need time to absorb and listen so they can respond. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of what I work with leaders on, identifying the communication styles of their team members and then going from there so you can know that this person needs this kind of communication, this person needs that type, and how they all work together. Because so often in an email, everything is not an email. It's okay to stop by that classroom or that building or pick up the telephone, and see, do you understand? And then oftentimes in my team meetings, even when I was at the state level, even in schools, I would often follow up. And I was really good with reading the room. And so often as a leader, you get to learn your team and you can tell from faces. And I would oftentimes just follow up, stop by a room or ask such and such, can you stay back for a few minutes? And I established, no matter where I was as a leader, even more so as I became an executive leader, my last position was Chief of Human Resources, I always, towards the ending of the meeting, asked, was there any clarification needed? Or my team knew that they were in a safe environment, that if they raised their hand or asked for clarification throughout, that they wouldn't get chopped down. Because I'm sure we've all had that leader that you don't understand, but you won't gonna dare raise your hand or ask a question, especially in front of everybody else, because you don't want to feel that small. So as a leader, you have to have that rapport with your teams for them to know that it's okay. Because anyone that's ever worked with me, and if you're listening, you know, in the middle of it, if you need clarification, just ask. And I used to always say that, please stop and ask, because it's always better to do it right, whatever we need to do, the task or whatever, do it right the first time than to do what you think because you didn't want to ask for clarification. And we have to do a lot of backstepping or cleaning up, as we say. So that big communication piece, to be honest with you, is one of the biggest things I'm right now working with a couple of my clients and teams on, because communication is the key. When you have project management, you're managing teams, you need to build the same accord, because if you're leading a big team and everyone's going in a different direction, you are going to drive yourself crazy. So that communication needs to be established from the beginning.
So when I try to figure out how to ask this question the best way, but when obviously there are moments when communication breaks down, but what are yes, you have to, and also I also meant to say this too for our listeners who might not know what a DISC assessment is. I just wondered if you could just say that really quickly, and then I'll ask my question.
Behavioral assessment. When you take an assessment, and you can either be, a DIS or a C. It categorizes you and shows how the different behavior styles work together and connect and communicate. And if you'd like to know more, you can connect with me. We can have a follow-up.
For sure. So, I mean, as you do that different kinds of coaching and really trying to set leaders up for success, because I mean, that's really what we want, is for leaders to be successful in their roles. And so there's this piece around how we onboard and mentor, and we talk a lot about that for teachers when we don't talk a lot about it for leaders. And I think that we can use the word gap several times here, but but that is I think a gap in terms of retention, right? It's like It's connected to that. But what are some ways in which onboarding could be really, really solid and helpful? And can you talk a little bit about mentorship, what that has looked like for long-term leader and teacher success?
Absolutely. And what I really like is my last place where I was in the past couple of ones. They were very well established onboarding processes as I've transitioned, to different locations. And what I found to be so successful was that onboarding from the human resources standpoint, whether you were the teacher, the bus driver, or anyone within that organization, before you step foot in that position, you have at least a half day with human resources, learning about policies and procedures. I mean, just learning about this is your job description, answering all those questions, and then spending the other half of that day or time with your actual department. If you're a teacher, having the curriculum team meet with that team to go over, this is the curriculum that we have. These are assessments. This is Canva. This is this, making sure that they at least have a good grasp of what they're stepping into, because everyone can't come to new teacher orientation for the whole week in August, or new employee orientation, because people start at all different times of the school year. So it's important that you have those different opportunities for human resources to come in and get everyone clear. And then once the person is released or transitioned into their position, whether you're a teacher or someone at central office in a position, that the person who you report to, a supervisor or someone in the executive team, meet with you to ensure that you're set up for success. Do you have the resources you need? They know all the processes and procedures of the department. How does the team work? Because nothing is supposed to be like, I got you. And then you don't just take that one time when they start to just leave them alone. No, different checkpoints along the way. You can also really, really make sure you pay attention to those, like you said, leaders, because so often we focus on teachers and other staff, but most leaders, we even more so would step into a position. And usually when you replace somebody, it wasn't somebody who oftentimes didn't want to go. If I'm being honest, it's somebody that you're coming into a position and things were not just laid out and you just stepped in like, okay, here I am. You had to ensure that processes, procedures, and systems were in place. And what's the best part about that is when they're able to have a mentor who can, like in a building, have a teacher mentor or a principal mentor, someone who can guide and support you. Because so often you have people that not only come from other school divisions that function differently, but from other states when things are different. So it's really important that you have that mentoring piece there. And that helps a lot with retention, because if people feel success before they even start, I have all the resources I need to be successful. While I'm in that position, someone is there supporting me and guiding me along the way. And if I have a question, I can call human resources, or if my principal isn't available, there's Miss Jackson in room 10, who I know I can go to because she's established, who can support me. And then I feel like I'm meeting success, then I'm more often than not likely to stay. And then all that money that the division has invested in that person, the wealth stays there, and you didn't just groom them for the next neighboring school division, which often happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
oh, go ahead. I have a follow-up.
well, she started talking about retention and recruitment, so I was just going to follow up into that. You know, we're in an interesting place in especially in public education, where, you know, there's a shortage of us entering into the field. And I even know, like, from my past district here in Texas, we have something called like the District of Innovation, where we're starting to bring in teachers who, you know, don't have the experience, or may still be working on getting their degree, just to help with closing the gaps in classrooms. And so what strategies, just in general with retention, teachers, leaders, all levels, but what strategies have you seen really work best for recruiting and retaining high quality educators?
I think with recruiting, the first thing is you need to have a diverse recruitment team. People need to see people who look like them and know that it's okay. They need to be made aware of what are the great things your division has going on. I mean, you have to sell yourself, because it's like a competition out here when people can go from district to district, and you're trying to especially get career switchers. Because to be honest with you, the majority of the new recruits that come on board are not college graduates who majored in education. They're career switchers who, like you said, many of them are hired just to come into the profession. They're either going through alternative licensure programs and processes. But you first of all, again, have to have people who look like them, who go out on these recruitment trips. Actually send principals or those in the areas, or reading specialists, if you need reading teachers, send those people out who can really answer those questions and really let them know that when you come here, we're supporting you, as well as ensuring that you get your licensure piece, which is a partnership with human resources that you need, because oftentimes once they get there, they feel confused and lost if there's not a partnership with human resources to help them with the licensure piece. I don't think that's so much the principal's position. That's just me talking from HR, because it's a partnership piece. I mean, your principal's trying to run the building to get things going, but you need to make sure that human resources assist them with partnering. But you got to sell yourself. What are the great things you're doing? You know, what resources are available? A lot of them want to know what do you have to support me that's going to lure me? Because I oftentimes talk about, well, you don't pay me enough, but it's not always about the money. I tell people too. I've met people during exit interviews who said it wasn't even about the money, it was about the other stuff, not feeling supported. So when you have a diverse recruitment team and get really those who are out there, those in the field supporting human resources with recruitment, and go into those HBCUs and those other areas so they can see, yes, we do want you. I think that's very important. And as far as retention, I think once you get them, because I used to always say in human resources, we fight hard to get them, but you all have to help us keep them. You know, you have to be a leader who, you know, that communication piece, that vision, you have to provide effective feedback. It's one of my big things I often talk to leaders about, providing feedback. And it's not a gotcha moment for those evaluations. Yes. It's about how well do you understand your role? You don't have to come to me to say you need help, because I'm observing you, watching you, see you need support. And these are the resources I'm going to pour into you to help you be successful. And when people feel supported and know you got them, then they'll stay. they'll stay if you know you got them. So that's part of that retention piece. And it's not always about the dollars. I mean, the dollars help because people need to survive. But if they
Right.
feel supported and you got them, they'll do anything for you. I always say that. They really will.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad you said this piece about evaluations, and it definitely looks different from school to school, district to district, and public to private too, and
Oh,
private
yeah.
where I am, it looks a little bit different. And I know for me, one of the things that was one of the things I disliked the most, honestly, was the evaluation system, and feeling that it was not necessarily about teacher growth always. It was
Right.
more about compliance.
Mhm.
And, that in and of itself can lead to breakdowns in communication. It can lead to low morale. It can lead to, teacher absenteeism. It can lead to, teacher burnout and, teacher mental health issues, like all of that stuff, because you're so worried about being able to not be to be satisfactory, or whatever
Mhm.
that criteria is on the evaluation. And so, what we want to make sure that teachers enjoy the work and also do very good work. And so you do have to have feedback and evaluation, and
Absolutely.
principals and leaders do need to understand how to give effective feedback and to deliver evaluations that are for teacher growth and not just to finish the checklist.
Mhm.
So, what are ways that you suggest that leaders and districts really kind of take a look at evaluation systems to try to make sure that we really are developing educators? Because the most teachers don't just get into education just because they want to get satisfactory on an evaluation. Like there's some heart in there, there's some purpose in
Right,
there.
right.
So we have to figure out ways to make sure that, yes, we're holding them accountable for the what they're supposed to do, but we're also supporting them with how to do it.
Right. And I think overall, and in different divisions it's differently, but in my various roles in human resources, when it really focused on evaluations, it was in human resources, and some have it in other areas. But what I will say is it's important that first of all, that administrators need to know the evaluation system inside and out.
Yeah.
Because so often, as a new principal, who really sits with you and say, this is our evaluation process, and ensuring that they're aware of what does it mean to be satisfactory, or resources are there to support you. So at the central office level, I really think, or a principal should reach out and say, I need support with understanding this evaluation system. And as part of what I do is, and what I also have done, and when I was in that role of chief, is I would actually meet with the team. We would meet with principals, all administrators, over curriculum departments and everything during the summertime to roll out. Hey, we have new people, returning people, give a quick overview of the evaluation system, a system was setting up routines and schedules, talking about resources that are there and support in the different areas. And then throughout the year during pre-service week, being available to go out there and meet with principals and teams, because pre-service week should include evaluations, they learning about the schedule, setting up your goals. So ensuring that there's a collaboration between central office and the building principals and supervisors to ensure that they understand the evaluation system, and then do some joint observations and
Mm.
ensure that you look over some of that feedback. Because I used to tell them, you can't say you're gonna, you want to terminate somebody, get rid of them in February, and you only observe them once. And when I look at it, you just said, good job.
Ooh.
You have no documentation to support that you've been observing them from the beginning. You looked at their goals, you provided support and aligned the resources. If the person is doing small group reading and they're doing the same lesson with all the students, did the literacy person or data person go in and help them look at data and differentiate groups? And did you go back to ensure that support was there and that teacher was okay? Or if you had a PLC that supported something, how often have you gone to a PLC, nobody followed up to see if you even understood what you heard? It was just more like it took up your morning for 2 hours. I mean, that's all part of, I'm telling you, that's part of
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah.
You have to provide support and resources. And as a principal or a leader leading a team, I mean, that's what you have to do. you're accountable just like they're accountable. Are you doing what you need to do to ensure your success in leading the team and building their capacity, as well as, providing the resources and support for them? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, speaking, we're still talking about leadership and, decisions. They have a direct impact on how people experience, their workplace. And so, what or in what ways, I guess, do leader actions or policies really influence staff wellness and organizational culture? And what are some practical ways leaders can begin to prioritize wellness today?
I love it. Because let me tell you, that's my next book that I'm working on now, that'll be out sometime in March or April. And it's
Hey.
tied into wellness in the workplace and how it increases profit, retention, and performance.
Mm.
Because so often people look at wellness being the mental mindset and health, because that's kind of what the employee assistance program, that's one of the big pushes that I've always had, regardless of the organization I've been in. Employee assistance programs being in alignment with the workplace wellness programs. So that is so important because, like I said, EAPs focus on the mental piece. So employees, as part of onboarding, getting back to onboarding needs to also talk about not only the academics or specifics of your position and what you're contracted to do, but also what employee assistance is there for you. Is there an employee assistance program? And almost all health insurance companies that school divisions have some type of EAP. And 9 times out of 10, most employees are not even aware of it. And I always tell this story. And I'm not going to say which organization I work for, so I can tell this story. They won't know I'm talking about them. There was a particular employee who was always coming to work crying, always up crying, couldn't get through the day, couldn't get through the day. People were complaining, saying such. The supervisor did not want the person tried to take a day or two off because they had a lot going on. Because life happens. I have life. We all have life that happens. And sometimes you just need that moment where you just need a day or two, and the weekend just wasn't the 2 days that you could get it together. So the person came to me and I did something that I rarely do, but when it comes to employee wellness, I kind of raise up a little bit. I usually refer people back to their supervisors, but when a person reach out to me and say, Dr. Halloran, I'm going through this, and this, I just need a day or maybe 2 at the most, just so I can get some things together. And I granted the person 2 days of leave, didn't even didn't touch their leave time. And I informed the supervisor that that's what I did. They were very upset, but I said, we need to take into account the well-being of our employees. And you notice, and I'm not going to, on the news, things are happening. People will tick. You better give people the time they need, or things are going to happen that we don't want to see happen. Do you know that person came back after 2 days and was a model employee and is still rolling? I mean, we need to be more cognizant. I understand you can't get a substitute for that day, but do you really want that teacher crying all day in front of them students and parents calling and complaining because the teacher crying all day for 3 days in a row? Or do you want that teacher to have those couple of days off to get it together and come back and keep it moving? See, that employee assistance and employee wellness is so important. And another part that I like to take a look at, because the EAP takes care of that piece, but wellness meaning how well are you preparing and supporting your employees to be successful? Do they have an executive coach? Are you providing the resources they need to be successful? And not just teachers, because right now my clients and those I work with are leaders. I work with all leaders. Do your principals have somebody they can talk to? You have your colleagues, but if all of you are new and maybe new to the state, you need somebody there to support you and help guide you through those day-to-day discussions and decisions. Someone who's been there, know the division, know the system, and a lot of times just a thought partner. You really do need that. So that wellness goes beyond just the mental aspect, but how well is your workplace? Can your employees perform to the extent they need to with the resources and support that's there or that's not there?
So, but what would you say to leaders who, but they may want to ensure that that environment is there, but really not sure how. Like, and especially if there are restrictions on what they're able to do within their district or their school, it might be in their heart, I want my employees to do well, but I don't know sort of practical or specific things that I can do as a leader within, my budget, within time, those kinds of things.
Well, I think that goes back to like the example I gave, being more cognizant of knowing your team and your employees. Mm-hmm. If somebody need a day off to do something and take care of something, then, approve that day off. I mean, don't give them such a hard time on, I can't get a substitute, you can't take off. And being a good listener with an open ear with that communication we talked about. Like I always say, my team members knew. They said, oh yeah, she tough, but she got you. Dr. Halloran tough, she expect this and this, but not one person that I supervised ever in all this time can tell you I wouldn't stay there, that I didn't stay there 8 o'clock at night if we needed to make sure they were clear on expectations of what needed to get done. If you need an example or a template, I'm there to support you. You got to, and a lot of this stuff goes beyond a budget. It's not always tangible, it's physical. It's you as a leader. How are you supporting to build their capacity and help them grow and be successful? Even you giving them an observation with effective feedback. I walked in your classroom. I saw a group of students at the table working independently. I saw some working with the special ed teacher in the back. However, I saw the group at your table. I watched it through 2 rotations. All of the students in both groups did the same activity. Let me get Ms. Jackson to come work with you, who's the reading specialist, to make sure she can take a look at your data and help you with your differentiated groups. And I'll come back in about 3 weeks and take another look and let me know what other support I can provide to you. I see the students in the corner don't have literacy books that they need. Now you order some literacy books. I mean, you being there to help them to support them to be successful in their role, so they can look at you as someone who's trying to help them grow and not trying to, I'm gonna get you. Don't come to me, because you don't want them to not see you as approachable. But that's another whole thing. Mm-hmm. So just being approachable and being there and helping them be successful. Now in your budget, if you're able to move your budget around and do some things, that's great. But I will say, that's at the school level, but even I know we have leaders at all levels that listen to the podcast. I'll say at the central office level, we had a partnership with the YMCA, and part of recruitment and supporting wellness. Once you could sign up, and for a single person, your membership was only, let's say, $15 or $20 a month, and a family $40. You can partner with different organizations as part of recruitment as well.
That's great.
Wellness is so important, but wellness people, that's the aspect I'm looking at now is wellness when you align your EAP programs, but how well are you providing support for them to do well and perform on that performance end, which increase retention and profit, because you're not spending all that money. Because I worked in one place, I'm not going to say where, it was hard for them to get people all the time to work. But I said, yeah, they always talk about our division, but they'll scoop us up quick because they know they trained us well. You know what I mean? And neighborhood divisions would do that. And people have it now where they can go from place to place. Whoever's given a bonus, they'll go and then they'll come right back to you. So we have to show that we're the place of choice and tell them those options and show them. No, not just tell them, but show them. It's those actions that count, not the words. They'll see it.
Know that. So I threw in another question there, but so for our leaders who are listening, aspiring leaders and new leaders, could you give them maybe 2 to 3 actionable steps that they can take this year to strengthen their leadership impact, whether it's in the areas of recruitment, retention, onboarding, mentoring?
If they're interested in leadership, actionable, it's all about building your capacity and growing. If you know the direction you want to go, start surrounding yourself with those who are doing what you would like to do. Start joining those associations when they have activities and events, because you need to grow and build your capacity. When I was a teacher, before I became an administrator, I was like, well, I would love to be I start going to some of the different, the different meetings. I start going to events. I start letting my immediate supervisor know I'm interested in this. And some people say, no, it ain't kissing up. You trying to grow and learn. You got to surround yourself, like they always say, you got to surround yourself with like-minded people. You have to do that. That's one thing. And I'll say professional organizations like BWEL and some other ones. Even though I transitioned from public to private sector, I still stay connected to all the organizations. I mean, I stay connected. You still want to stay abreast of best practices. You learn from going to breakout sessions. Oh, wow, I never thought about that. Well, let me follow up with her and see how you have to stay connected like that in networking. Networking is the key, as well as letting those know who are in those positions who can help elevate you and give you opportunities to learn. And then sometimes you might get those experiences and realize, oh no, I don't think I want to do that. Because a lot of things look easy from afar. A lot of things look easy until you get into it.
Right.
But that, and as well as with the and I always want to tell people, just be a voice just speak up. And the worst somebody can say is no. Right? If you need resources or support, even if you're at the central office level, if you need support, you need to ask. I used to love, some people look at it as thinking it's a weakness when you ask for support. But I love when people ask for support because it showed me they really want to do what's right and they really want to be the best at what they're doing. So whatever I could do to be successful and help them, I was there.
Right. Yeah, that's some good stuff.
I love that. Well, can you share like one of the most challenging leadership experiences you may have faced, and what it taught you about really leading with courage and clarity?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because when I think of this challenge, I had it more than one time because like I mentioned earlier, when you step into leadership positions, especially when you step up into higher level leadership positions, you're kind of the lone star, the lone person in that position. So when you go from, let's just even say one school division to another, and the culture is different, everything is different, you step into a position where processes and procedures, none of those things are there. And you step in and they're looking at you like, we've always done it this way. How many of you have heard that before?
Oh boy.
So
well, we used to.
Right. And I had to come in from the point where I said, well, I know it's all of them and it's me, but I was hired to do a job for a reason. So what I would usually do is, not usually, what I've always done is, first of all, met one-on-one. Let me meet with each team member. We went over the job description. Let's kind of see where support is needed. And I think my actions spoke louder than my words, which is great. And I always tell people as a leader, you step into that position and you talk, well, I'm here to support you, whatever resources you need, we're going to meet, let's do this, let's do that. You hear that. And then after that talk, it's like, okay, she said that, but I tried to, she not here, she not. That's what I, as a leader, my action supported my words. And they knew right off the bat, oh, wow, this is a different type leader. She's really going to do that. I need support and I can come to her and she's not going to look at me like, why are you asking me? Because you should know how to do this. No, I'm a team player and I've always been a team player because you're as good as your team. And I always look at it like this. You can sit right there and make everybody's life difficult and they're going to make yours difficult. Because I always say the buck stops at the leader. Or you can be a team player and let's work together as a team and make it happen and grow and go. So that was my thing. My challenge was coming in a system that was disarray, a lot not in place, but just letting them know individually, one-on-one, I'm here to support you. And my action supported the words. And what everybody needed, I helped you grow. And in my last position, I don't mind saying that I made it a point before I left that professional development was for everyone. If you're the person answering the phone, if you're the person it did not matter. As long as it aligned with your goals, my budget supported what you needed to be successful because everybody's important on that team, regardless of your position. And I think that's something leaders need to really look at. And if you're in a building, your custodian is just as important as that teacher. as your assistant principal and the bus driver.
Yep.
Everybody needs to grow professionally so they can be successful in what their role is, because we're all supporting the same cause.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's I mean, I've thought about that so much, and different places that I have worked have had different emphases on that
yeah,
piece right there. Does the school clerk get the same kind of professional training or
mhm,
support as the cafeteria manager? And why is that important? Because every single one of those staff members touches a child. They
absolutely.
have contact with a child. And so they deserve to have the similar training or the training that's going to help them to be more effective in their jobs because you never know. You never
Absolutely.
know who is going to impact a child's life in a day.
That's
I was
right.
reading, I think I saw something on social media about a custodian who they unfortunately found that was unalive in the school,
Mm,
and kids were devastated because and everybody had these different stories about how he had impacted them and no one else knew. No one else knew what he
mm,
had done. Brought had snacks to kids. Was helping kids with algebra homework. Was doing all these things. And so it's like we have to make sure that we are really honoring who people are and the roles that they play because they can have so much more reach than we can see in a school day.
that's right.
So
Capacity building for all. That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's why this topic is so incredibly important because who we have in our schools is important to whether or not our schools are going to be successful, from your clerks to your secretaries to your bus drivers to your crossing
Right.
guards. I mean, like everybody and anybody who has any kind of reach in the school is so important. Um, we have to wrap up. There's so much good stuff that was shared here today. But
Yes.
a last question is like, so you gave us some tidbits about some upcoming work and books and all kinds of stuff, and you are always doing the thing, which I love. So what message would you like for educators and leaders to carry forward from your particular work?
Stay impactful and influential, which is the my latest book.
Hey, hold
Impact,
that up again so we can see that title all the way. Leadership in Action. I can't read the small print though.
how to be impactful and influential in a results driven culture.
Hey,
And it's all about,
wonderful.
and I loved our whole discussion was about the impact we make. And we're very fortunate and blessed to be put in um, to be hired in positions that we qualified for, that we can build the capacity and grow and impact others to come along the way.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I want to say. Don't forget those who are still coming up behind you. And also make sure you take care of you. You have to
Mm,
take care of you so you can take care of everyone else. And I
yeah,
will leave you with that.
for certain, for certain. Thank you. Go ahead, Jocelyn. Oh
Yeah,
no, that's not
definitely.
you. It's me.
No, but before you go in, I definitely want
Yeah.
to acknowledge those who are watching on. And so we missed a few comments through some of the conversations, but I definitely wanted to take a moment to recognize them. And so, like Coach Carey shared with us when we were talking about communication earlier, that there's so many communication styles, and speaking to people in their language is essential to leadership and growth. And she
Mm,
also shared this that asking questions make us better. And definitely want to share some of her comments with you and the nuggets that you've shared with us today. And so thank you all for tuning in and sharing your thoughts.
mhm. And Dr. Halloran, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights and strategies and leadership wisdom with us today. Lots of wisdom that we received. And your perspective on recruitment and hiring retention reminds us that people stay where they feel supported, valued, and empowered to grow. And so it's our job as school and district leaders to create environments where this is the
Absolutely.
norm and not the exception.
Absolutely. And they can follow me on LinkedIn. I love to continue the discussion with anyone who actually love to continue the discussion. I'm all ears.
And you should definitely follow her. To our Lead Girl listeners, we hope this conversation gave you practical strategies and renewed leadership mindset that will strengthen your schools and teams and organizations. And whether you're a new leader or a seasoned one, remember retention starts with leadership.
Yes.
Yes. And so we want to thank everyone for listening to Lead Girl, the BWEL podcast, where we amplify the voices of Black women in educational leadership. BWEL is a nonprofit organization open for membership for you to serve and be served. So if you're a Black woman in educational leadership, we are looking for you. You can become a member or support us by visiting blackwomeneducationleaders.com, and be sure to follow us on social media on X, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
Tune in for upcoming episodes on a variety of topics that are sure to be relevant to your personal growth and professional practice. We invite and encourage you to give us feedback or request to join our show. Email us at bwellpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us on socials at leaders_black. See you next time. Until then, lead, girl.
You better lead.
Good night, everyone.